Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and good afternoon. Welcome in to the Sports Insanity Network's Super Bowl pregame show. Happy I got that out right. I'm Mike Griffin, joined as always by Mark Goldovsky, Halper, Bill Murphy, Danny Boy Reginald, Dan Ryans, Lawrence Patchman Lang will be on in a bit. Gentlemen, happy Super Bowl.
Happy Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's Super Bowl Sunday.
Mark, that was a great reaction there. Yeah, it's Super Bowl.
As I said, I really don't care who wins as long as my numbers hit at the end.
Well, we'll dive into the game in a few minutes. We'll dive into a lot of things. But we'll start with what was announced Thursday night. We'll get into the awards in a second, but let's go over the 2023 Pro Football Hall of Fame class. We'll go through the entire class, but I'm going to start with Dan because there are two names that stand out to Dan. Joe Klecko, Darrelle Revis. Joe Klecko was a member of the New York Sack Exchange for the New York Jets, Defensive Player of the Year in 1981, and a two-time first-team All-Pro, four-time Pro Bowler, played 10 of his seasons with the Jets. As for Darrelle Revis, two stints with the Jets, 2007 to 2012, and 2015-16. In between was a stint with the Bucs and the Patriots, and he ended his career with the Chiefs. Four-time first-team All-Pro, seven-time Pro Bowler, 29 career interceptions, 3 returned for touchdowns. So, Dan, you said this, I think, last week or during the week. You got your wish that 2 Jets are going to Canton.
It was the right move. Look, it's about time for fucking Joe Klecko. Excuse my language, but I'm happy because it was a good night for the Jets at the NFL Honor. Okay, so let me have this moment. This is a great night for them. Joe Klecko finally gets in after 1 trillion years. I'm sorry if anyone that can be a Pro Bowler at 3 different positions on defense. You meet Pro Bowler there and be as consistent as he was. That to me is worthy of Hall of Fame. And it should have been a long time ago. But the reason why he wasn't a Hall of Famer was because he was a Jet. And there's a stigma with Jets. You can deny it all you want. There is a stigma. So I'm happy that Joe Klecko gets in. It's about damn time. Good job by the Hall of Fame for making that happen. And of course, Darrelle Revis. Right now he has a little bit of company with Sauce Gardner coming up and stuff. I think Sauce Gardner, if he stays as good as he is, he'll probably become the best defensive player in Jet history. But for right now, Darrelle Revis holds that title. So no question about it, he gets in. I'm happy that I grew up on Revis, and it was awesome to watch him play, and now to watch him go to Canton is pretty exciting. Again, one of the very early Jet memories that I had was with Revis, and the fact that a lot of my early Jet players, the Curtis Martins of the world, the Revises of the world, that they're going to the Hall of Fame. Well, Martin's in the Hall of Fame already, but the fact that Darrell's now going, it's pretty exciting stuff. So my childhood me is very excited.
Very well said, Mark. It wouldn't be a Hall of Fame without a couple of Cowboys going in. Chuck Howley, who played for the Cowboys from 1961 to 73, Super Bowl MVP, 6-time Pro Bowler, first team All-Pro 5 times, 25 career interceptions, and DeMarcus Ware, who spent first 8 seasons of his career with the Cowboys, 138.5 sacks, 3 interceptions, 3 defensive touchdowns, 4-time first team All Pro, 3-time second team All Pro, 9-time Pro Bowler, and the Dallas Cowboy all-time sack leader and Super Bowl 50 champion with the Denver Broncos. Your reaction to those guys going in?
It's been a long time, and for Chuck Howley, this is beyond well-deserved. He was originally drafted by the Chicago Bears, and surgeries back then, when you have a knee injury like today, were not guaranteed to work, but luckily enough for him, it did. He joined the Cowboys in their premier year and stayed with them until he retired. Mike read all his accolades out. I don't have to tell you how good he was and what he meant to that Dallas defense that was so dominating in the late 60s, early 70s. Also, he was the Super Bowl MVP of Super Bowl V. Dallas didn't win Super Bowl V, so he's one of the few who has ever won it on a losing team. DeMarcus, beware of D-Ware, was one of the premier sack leaders throughout his career in Dallas. He did when he went over to Denver for his final 3 years. He still did amazingly. He was one of the most feared players on the field, and he has already come out and said that Micah Parsons is better than he was when he first came up. So congratulations to Chuck Howley and DeMarcus Ware on yet another 2. The NFL missed one. Darren Woodson needs to be in next year.
We'll get into next year's class, and we can talk about that in a few minutes. There's a Dolphin going into the Hall of Fame as well. Zach Thomas, very well deserved. Played 11 seasons for the Dolphins, 1 season for the Dallas Cowboys. 5-time first team All Pro, 7-time Pro Bowler, 20 and a half career sacks, 100+ tackles his first 11 seasons. Leads the Dolphins in a ton of defensive categories. What you just said about what Dan said about Joe Klecko and what you said about Darren Woodson is how I feel on Zach Thomas. Because I think Zach Thomas gets overshadowed at middle linebacker. 1, because he wasn't the biggest guy in the world. But 2, and I think more importantly, he fell into the shadow that was Ray Lewis and Brian Urlacher and the better middle linebackers of the early 2000s. So happy Zach Thomas got in. Other names who will go in this year include Rondé Barber, who I did not know this. He's the only player in NFL history with at least 45 sacks and 25 interceptions.
Did not know that either.
So Rondé Barber goes in. Don Coryell goes in. Head coach. Chuck Howley, Joe Klecko we mentioned. Revis was mentioned. Ken Riley, former Bengal defensive back. Joe Thomas, one of the best offensive linemen, forget of his era, all time. Played 10,363 consecutive snaps as an offensive lineman. And he finished second in Rookie of the Year voting behind Adrian Peterson. And that's your list for this year. But Mark, you brought up DeMarcus Ware. You brought up Darren Woodson. Is there anyone else you want to see get in next year?
I mean, there probably is. I would have to look at the complete list of who is just coming in and eligible, which I think you'll be able to tell us in a second.
Here's a list of first-time eligibles. Julius Peppers.
Okay.
I like Dr. Peppers as well, but Antonio Gates, who he'll get in.
Yes. One of the best tight ends San Diego history.
One of the best tight ends in NFL history.
And NFL history as well, yes.
Yeah. Eric Berry, who I don't think will get in. Haloti Ngata.
I don't know if he'll get in on the first jump, but he deserves to get in.
Haloti Ngata, I think, is an interesting case. Great nose tackle from Baltimore. Brandon Marshall.
He's not getting in.
To make Dan happy, Muhammad Wilkerson. Sebastian Janikowski's. Sebastian.
Wilkerson's a loser. Goes to Green Bay and freaking sucks. Loser.
Sebastian Janikowski's on this list.
Janikowski should get in as one of the greatest field goal kickers the NFL's ever seen.
Phil Dawson's also on this list, and he was a really good kicker too.
Could be the
Wasn't
first year we have two
Janikowski?
kickers get in.
Yeah. Andrew Luck is on this list.
He's gonna luck out.
Yeah, he's not getting there.
I don't think he's getting in.
No, he's not. He didn't play long enough, unfortunately. Jordy Nelson's an interesting one. I don't think he'll get there.
Not
I think the
he'll
top
get
two
in
are-
eventually, but not in his first year or so.
Yeah, so that's your list for next year. So
Yeah. Darren Woodson needs to be put in.
Well-
One of the most dominated strong safeties in football.
and I'll argue for Reggie Wayne or Torrey Holt. If we're
Don't
putting
disagree there
receivers in, that's where I'm going. Reggie Wayne, Torrey Holt. Give me some good receivers in there. So
Coach wise, you know who I think should be in?
Andy Reid, but he's not retired.
And I know a lot of you are going to sit there and call me biased, Tom Coughlin.
You're not. You're not.
Hear me
wrong,
out,
Bill.
Reggie.
You're not
Hear me
wrong,
out.
Bill.
Reg, will you hear me out, please?
Sure.
Okay. Now, I'm not just talking about, his run with the Giants, but also with the Jaguars. He took an expansion team in their second season and brought them to the playoffs. Heck, he got them to the playoffs. He got them to the playoffs 4 consecutive times.
Yeah, and took them to the AFC Championship game,
And then later on, with the Giants, he got the Giants to the playoffs 4 consecutive times and 2 Super Bowls, 9 playoff journeys for him. And do I think he's going to be a first ballot? I'm not 100% on that, but I do think he eventually belongs into the Hall of Fame. I've said my piece.
Go ahead, Dan.
I mean, I think Tom Coughlin got lucky with the Giants. That's just me. I think he got lucky because David Tyree made an amazing catch. I think he got lucky because Mario Manningham made an amazing catch. So I'm sorry, I can't. I'll give him the playoff accolades. Fine, he did a tremendous job in Jacksonville, but he's a lucky coach. Like Tom Coughlin, if you really think about it, at his best, probably mediocre. He did a mediocre job with the Giants. If Eli Manning gets sacked, we don't talk about this. Let's be honest here. So that's why I don't even consider it. I'll give him, look, I'm not saying he was a bad coach. I'm just saying, like, I feel like Hall of Fame is a bit of a stretch.
Here's how I would view it. I think Mark would agree with this. If you look to see how long Jimmy Johnson had to wait, and Jimmy Johnson is not knocking on Tom Coughlin. Jimmy Johnson's a much better coach than Tom Coughlin.
I will not debate you on that. I agree.
So
Sorry, Tom, if you're watching.
I think there are other coaches who are still in the midst of their. Andy Reid's going to get in, Tomlin, Belichick. Those 3 are for sure. Coaching is a difficult conversation to have because how do we judge a coach on the Hall of Fame? Is it the amount of Super Bowls they win? Is it the amount of games they win? Is it about keeping teams relevant? Because the Giants, it's their first Super Bowl. They were 9-7, and they got hot at the right time. I don't remember their record in 2011, so shoot me.
10-6.
So,
no, Giants were 9-7 in 2011.
9-7,
10-6.
so they're 9-7 both years, and they got hot.
Yeah.
And I'm not knocking Tom Coughlin. I like Tom Coughlin. But we're calling it the Hall of Fame. It's not the Hall of Very Good.
Right. Look, Tom Coughlin did a great job when it came to the Jacksonville Jaguars, the expansion. Bill, you went into that. I'm not going to repeat it. Coughlin commanded respect of his players, but I think Dan said it well and Mike said it well, is the fact that when Coughlin came to the Giants, 9-7 doesn't make you a great coach. They got lucky in the playoffs, yes, but they still won, and you can't take that away from it. We're not going to. My question is, I don't know if Mike Holmgren is in, but if you want me to compare two coaches, I could put Holmgren and Coughlin next to each other. Holmgren would get in before Coughlin. I'm not saying Coughlin won't get in, but he's going to have to wait, like Mike said, probably as long as Jimmy Johnson did, at least.
Okay, just thought I'd throw that out there.
Yeah, no, it's a good argument to have. But if he gets in, let's hope he has his day in the sun. I don't want him waiting too long to a point where he's like old or dead. You know what I'm saying?
Well, he's already old, so
exactly.
He's 76.
79.
No, 6.
I was
He's
guessing.
either 76 or 79. It's 3 years. Doesn't
No,
matter.
I was just guessing. So, I don't even think Coughlin's the guy I would be talking to. Like the Eli argument, I think he's more interesting than the Coughlin argument.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I think next year Eli's eligible.
You're wrong.
I am.
He wasn't on that list that I read off. So
He has one more
So
year.
probably the following year, because
Yeah.
he retired in
He's got 2 years.
2019. So
2 years to go, and I hate to admit it, he will be elected in, but for the wrong reasons.
because of what he and Peyton do on a regular basis, he'll get it.
No, he has 2 Super Bowls on teams that were well underrated. The defense beat Tom Brady. He got 2 lucky catches, as Dan said, from Tyree and Manningham. Mind you, I have watched that Tyree play from every angle, and the tip of that ball touched the ground. Dez caught it. We're moving on.
Okay, next.
I don't know how he got it into Dez, but he made sure we got there. Ironically enough, Mike McCarthy still thinks Dez thought it was incomplete.
And now he's
We
coaching
move. We move on to the NFL Honor Awards from Thursday night. Patrick Mahomes was named the MVP. Is anyone going to argue against this?
Unfortunately, I will.
Okay, go ahead, Mark.
I mean, there's nothing that Patrick Mahomes did wrong this season. He had a pretty flawless season. Unfortunately, yes, he got hurt in the playoffs, but he toughed it out. But I actually thought Jalen Hurts, even missing the 2 games, deserved it after what he did with the Eagles. And this is hard for me to even say, as you can see, the jersey and hat I'm wearing. I'm actually complimenting an Eagle, and I like to gag if I could. So I thought Hurts deserved it more.
I'm going to agree with Mark, actually. But no, I don't think Mahomes is a bad choice. Don't get me wrong. And as you can see by my lovely poster, yeah, I don't want to give credit to an Eagles quarterback, but Jalen Hurts, because, yeah, he had a great season. And with him being out 2 games, that really shows you how much of a staple he is to that Eagles offense this year for passing yards. 3,701 passing yards, 22 passing touchdowns, and only 6 interceptions, while he had 165 rushing attempts, 760 rushing yards, 13 rushing touchdowns in the regular season. And in the postseason so far, he's had 20 rushing attempts, 73 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, and 275 rushing yards and 2 passing touchdowns. But I think Pat Mahomes is a very solid choice. But Jalen Hurts, like I said, that really shows you the 2 games that he was out, they lost. That really shows you how important he is to this team.
What amazes me is 2 things. One, I don't think Hurts or Mahomes is the MVP. I'm going to be honest, because this is such a quarterback-driven league. We always look to the quarterbacks. Patrick Mahomes wouldn't have those numbers if he didn't have Travis Kelce. And for some stupid reason, teams said, oh, Tyreek Hill's not around anymore. We could just leave Travis Kelce open in the middle of the field to do what he wants when he wants to do it. Travis Kelce was the valuable guy on the Chiefs. But if we're going to go overall spectrum of the league, it's Justin Jefferson.
And another very good candidate who deserved consideration.
I know he won Offensive Player of the Year, but argument's sake, he made that the MVP needs a signature moment. I think everybody would agree with that. Justin Jefferson's signature moment in Buffalo. He makes that huge catch on 4th down in a game the Vikings actually had no business winning. They won. You can call him a fraud, you can call the Vikings whatever you want, but Justin Jefferson could and should have been the MVP, and he's about to get paid.
Yeah, by the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, good luck with that one. All right. Nick Bosa was your Defensive Player of the Year. You're shaking your head.
Look, Nick Bosa deserved it. But what upsets me about it is that Micah Parsons reportedly received 0 first
place votes.
Thank you. First place votes. And that I find hard to believe. But no, Nick Bosa, an amazing year for San Francisco. So he absolutely deserved it.
Yeah, I don't know how the voting works on there. Justin Jefferson was the Offensive Player of the Year.
No
you could have
question.
given it to him or Kelce. I wouldn't argue it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jefferson had a great year, so I think that was a really solid. And if you guys listen to the podcast that we did this week, I said Justin Jefferson was going to be MVP.
You mean the Offensive Player of the Year?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike.
All right. I'm going to wait for Dan to come back to go over the rookies because he could have a field day with that. But we'll keep it going with Comeback Player of the Year. Another Jet legend, Geno Smith.
I don't think they got it wrong there. I'm sorry. He had a hell of a year in Seattle.
I'm not arguing that, but what did he come back from?
Well, who was he with before Seattle? I can't really think.
No, he was the backup to Russell Wilson.
No, but he was out injured for most of last year.
Was he?
So I guess that's why he's getting the nod for that. Mind you, the guy also hasn't started a full season since.
I'm not arguing that. I'm just
But you want to know who could talk better about him? The actual Jets fan who loves Geno.
All right, Dan, we're going over the awards. You want to take over the Rookies of the Year?
Rookies of the Year. Hold up a second. Sorry. I know who the Rookies of the Year. It's Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner. I'm not.
Yeah, that's why I'm giving it to you.
I look. I think Garrett Wilson's kind of overrated. You know, look. He had a good season. Don't get me wrong. Did he deserve the award? You can argue whether he did, whether he didn't. I don't care. I think he's a little overrated. I think that, to me, Garrett Wilson proved that he's going to be the guy, the lead receiver, number one guy in the future. He has shown flashes of greatness. But I think we hyped him up a little too much because he's a young player. He even said he was on the Rich Eisen show earlier the week before the NFL honors.
Shout out Rich Eisen.
Yeah. There's
a legend.
And he even said, this is his first time in the NFL playing 17 game seasons, and they couldn't finish because they were too young. So he even admitted that, he was inexperienced at this level. Like he did well, but he was inexperienced, and that's why the production slowed down when it did. So he even admitted to that. Fine, you can give it to him, and of course I'm going to be happy because it's the Jets, and Jets are getting recognition. It's great. But if I'm being real honest with you, I would have given it to someone else. That's just me.
And Sauce is defensive rookie of the year.
Yeah, Sauce is the only one that I can truly say fine. But even with him, like I would have picked Hutchinson. Like I don't know, maybe I'm trying to be hard on the Jets because I'm not used to the Jets getting so much attention and all that stuff. So I have high standards, is basically what I'm saying. But yeah, out of the two, I probably would have picked Sauce. He did enough for sure. I would have again chosen Hutchinson, but Sauce he was especially in the first half of the season, outstanding coverage on people, and it got to a point where no one threw the ball at him because they were so scared of Sauce making a big play, and when they tried, they failed. So yeah, it was pretty nice to see the Jets being well represented in the NFL honors.
I think Tariq Woolen got the low shaft of the stick, but I'll digress. All right. We'll move on. Bill, coach of the year.
Is my boy Brian Dable, and I will be honest, this was a great choice. And again, I'm not saying this because I'm a Giants fan, but I think, and we were talking about this on the podcast the other day, and I think Danny Boy Reg said it perfectly. He goes, because this guy was not given a lot to work with. And yet this was a guy who built up Daniel Jones, built up Saquon Barkley, and this took this team to the playoffs for the first time since 2016, gave them their first playoff win since 2011. Yeah, they fell short, and yeah, they got trounced by the Eagles, but this was a team that got further than anyone expected. And listen, you can make an argument for Nick Sirianni. And listen, I think Sirianni's a good coach, but Sirianni already came stacked. Dable, and I can make the same argument for someone like Doug Peterson. Like Peterson and Dable came, they really didn't have a lot to work with. And they really molded their teams. And I think Brian Dable just didn't. I think this was an absolute right choice by the NFL as Brian Dable being coach of the year. And did anyone, I just want to say on a fun note, did anyone hear when they asked him, so what are you going to do for the Super Bowl? He goes, I'm going to be at my home. I'm going to eat a tray of nachos and drink a 6-pack. Did anyone hear that?
Sounds like my perfect day.
And then on Monday, I'll start my
Tuesday.
diet. And all the Giant fans on my Giant fans Facebook pages are going, I love this. He's like us. He's just like us. And, I think Brian Dable was a great choice because of what he was given to work with. But I will say, if they picked someone like Doug Peterson, I wouldn't be too upset because you could make an argument for either of them.
The biggest snub is Pete Carroll.
He's a good coach.
He's a great coach.
No. I'm not saying he's not a good coach. My point is to be nominated for coach of the year, you have to do something great. And Brian Dable did, Doug Peterson did. Who thought the Seattle freaking Seahawks were going to be a playoff team as well after trading Russell Wilson? And let's be honest, everyone was waiting for them to trade for Jimmy G. Sup, Patch?
Our fearless leader.
you were going to sign Jimmy G. Or trade for Jimmy G. They were going to sign Baker because no one believed in Geno Smith. And the Seattle Seahawks somehow, some way, still made the playoffs. I'm not saying he should have won it. I'm saying he should have been nominated.
Oh, that is a very good argument. You know, the year after you trade your best quarterback, being Russell Wilson, and then you still made the playoffs. Absolutely, I think Pete Carroll should have gotten nominated.
I only make valid points. All right. D'Amico Ryan's assistant coach of the year.
No argument there.
Dak won Walter Payton Man of the Year.
Yes, you heard that right. Man of the Year. All you haters take notice.
All right, so those are your awards that went over from Thursday night. So let's dive into the game we've got, because there's actually a game today. I don't know if anyone's heard. Mark and Bill, diehard Eagles fans.
Today, as I told old ops guy before we went on, today we have formed an unholy alliance.
Mhm.
Mark being a diehard Cowboys fan, as you can see, and me being a diehard Giants fan. Today, we're both Chiefs fans.
Yeah. Look, I'm not going to take away anything from what Jalen Hurts
Me neither. I think he's a
did for
great
Philadelphia. It's just, I'm part of the NFC East, been a Cowboy fan. I don't want to see the Eagles win it. If they do, they deserve it because the team was that good. Just, I don't want to see it. Patchy, we haven't heard from you yet. Dive in.
Oh, well, after a fun-filled day of working in the grocery store, eating some lunch.
It was a blast.
Oh, it was a hell of a good time. I'm my own boss now, so how can I not complain? So, gotta love it there. I'm excited for today's game. Here's one thing: I want my numbers to come out. Plain and simple. I can care less who wins. I can care less who wins. If the Eagles win, it's more fun and mischief to rib on the NFC East and their fan bases because the Eagles won something again before any other team did. Granted, the Commanders ain't going to do anything relatively soon. Giants, there's a glimmer of hope, and the Cowboys, it's the old saying, quick and not quick and good. It's start off very strong and then end in disaster, as always.
Oh,
So,
man.
So, it's
Stephen A.
How about them Cowboys? But, I want the Eagles to win just for mischief because, everybody will then just crap on the Chiefs again. Because, if the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, it's going to be the old saying, the old bandwagon fans are all going to come out of hiding again and say, welcome to the Red Kingdom.
Sorry, Patrick.
Welcome to the Red Kingdom. Patrick Mahomes is the GOAT. He's the new GOAT. Blah, blah, blah. No. Perfect storm tonight because, neither fan base will shut up after this Super Bowl because the losing team will say, oh, the refs and blah, blah, blah. And it's a perfect storm tonight.
I'm going to actually give credit to Bill here. He said something before we started. He said the loser tonight is really going to be the city of Philadelphia. Because, well, I'll give it to you in a second. And I'm going to let Bill explain why, but I don't disagree with him. And Bill is going to explain to us why.
Okay, as we all know Eagle fans are a unique bunch.
They're a different breed of fans.
Yes, I'm trying to
Philadelphia fans
single it out as Eagles fans. I'd say Philadelphia fans.
Philadelphia fans are a different breed. We rag on the Bills Mafia in Buffalo, but Philly fans are
at least
Philadelphia
the
fans.
They throw things at Santa Claus.
At least the Bills Mafia, say what you want about them, at least they seem harmless. Like the Philadelphia Eagle fans, they win that they're going to tear the city down. They lose, that city's going to get burnt to the ground.
Look, if you ever think about going to the vet, and you're a Cowboys fan, don't. I had my ass kicked in Philadelphia.
Because I was watching a video of 49ers fans going to the conference championship game at the Link. And let me tell you, I told my dad and I told my brother, goes, any Giant home game I'm going to, I am not going to Philly because I will, Giant away game, sorry. I will probably be leaving that stadium in a body bag.
You're going to get me back to the vet.
And I will go to Dallas, Mark, before I go to Philly.
Bill, they just will bury you under the field. You won't even make it back to New York.
But you know, and also last year, the last time the Eagles won a Super Bowl, did anyone see this? There was a fan that was eating horse feces.
No, but I'm stopping you there because I
Thank
am
you.
not allowing our listeners, viewers to be grossed out.
I'm
So I'm
sorry.
going to cut you. I'm going to cut you off and I'm going to take back the reins here because I'm
Okay.
very much creeped out. But we entered today's game, both teams' record of 14-3, which is kind of cool. Scored the similar amount of points as well. If I'm being, the Eagles 477, the Chiefs scored 496, so good amount. So here's how both teams got here. Wild card round, both teams had a bye week. The divisional round, the Eagles beat the New York Giants by a score of 38-7. The Chiefs beat the Jaguars 27-20. And the conference championship game, the Eagles beat the 49ers 31-7. And the Chiefs beat the Bengals 23-20. So Mark, I'm going to throw it to you first here.
Okay.
It looks like the Chiefs have played the more competitive games going into the Super Bowl. Does that give them a little bit of an edge in your mind?
I think the Kansas City Chiefs had a harder schedule than what the Philadelphia Eagles had. Not taking away what Philadelphia did. You know, they still got where they were. I think Kansas City's road trip throughout the season, throughout the playoff, was a much harder test than what the Eagles had to do to get where they were. Again, not taking anything away from Jalen Hurts, but that's just my honest opinion.
Dan?
So this is about Philly, right?
This is about both teams and their roads getting to this game today.
Well, Philly has the easier road. They had the Giants, and then they had the Niners, and the Niners got injured in the championship game. So easier road for Philly. The Chiefs, however, they, to me, had a harder road because the Jaguars came out and played hard. So did the Bengals. You can argue that both were like trap games for them. Like they actually had to work hard, put effort into trying to win the game. So, yeah. You know, I think that even though they're able to escape those games, the Chiefs had a harder road, for sure. So that's where I stand on that. And that's why I put my money on the Chiefs because, you know, they've had a lot of adversity. The Eagles have not been tested. I was going to be straight up. Like, where was the test for the Eagles?
The playoffs, I don't think it's here, to be honest with you.
Yeah, so like, you know, that's why I feel like the Eagles are due for a big time trap matchup, and it just so happens to be at the Super Bowl. That's just me. Because
Patch?
you really think about it.
No, sorry.
You really think about it. The Giants, they weren't much of a test because they were out of the game before it even started. Giants didn't come up with big stops. They couldn't answer the Eagles after the Eagles scored their first 7. So no huge test. And then, of course, like I said, banged up 49ers team in the championship game. They have not truly been tested yet. So I'm waiting on the Eagles to be fully tested on their ability. And I think the Chiefs can give them that.
Patch.
To me, key factor for today's game is how good is that ankle of Mr. Mahomes. You really got to put that in consideration right now because we don't know. You never know. You never know in the world of sports on if someone's 100%, 85%, 90%, 62%, or 35%, for lack of a better term. The test will be with the Chiefs and Mahomes. As long as that ankle is fine, Chiefs are going to be fine. Eagles, like Dan said, what kind of test have they really had in the playoffs? No offense, no offense to the New York Giants, you got routed by a better team. You guys got there. You guys won a playoff game, and then you ran into the roadblock in the Eagles. And then Eagles once again the following week they faced the banged up 49ers, where the 5th string quarterback decided to come out from the locker room, and they didn't really play I wouldn't say a competitive NFC championship game, but the writing and it was written right there after Purdy went out. It was kind of like, all right, well, this game is kind of out of reach now for the Niners, and Eagles are just going to roll to the Super Bowl. The test comes tonight for the Eagles if they can actually be the team they say they are. And they have to step up in the moment, step up to the plate, call your shot, and put the big boy pants on.
And just to counteract your question on Mahomes' ankle, you can ask the same thing about Jalen Hurts' shoulder.
True.
So I think both quarterbacks are coming in a little banged up. Maybe the week off last week helped both of them. I'm not sure. I'm not sure the severity of either injury.
From what we've heard out of Philip, sorry, Mike.
No, go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, what we've heard out of Philadelphia, as early as this morning, was that Hurts' shoulder is 95% or better. I believe it. I believe he is back after watching the way he dismantled the Giants. Now, mind you, that wasn't a real test. No offense, Bill. But you can see the speed is back in his pass. As for what Patchy said, Mahomes' ankle, high ankle sprains don't heal in 3 weeks. They take 4 to 6 weeks. If that offensive line can hold, then Mahomes should be fine. I'd be more nervous if Mahomes has to scramble a lot.
If I could please now chime in.
Yeah, go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, but you know what? You all rag on my team. But you know what? I forgive you because you all made valid points. Because with the Eagles' walk to the Super Bowl. That's what it's been. It's been a walk. It hasn't been a run. It's been a walk. It's been a cakewalk. Like the Giants, I'm not ragging on my own team here, but you played a Giants team that was rebuilding. This game was over within 5 minutes of the start time. And hey, I'm willing to admit it. And then you played a 49ers team, like you guys were all saying, were banged up. And that they were banged up. They had to resort to their 4th string quarterback. But like, if you remember, I don't have the exact stats in front of me, but from a couple weeks ago, remember, I said this on the podcast that game was closer than it said. The 49ers did hold the Eagles a little bit. And when you look, is this going to be we talked about Hurts' shoulder, 95%. Like they're saying that, but Mark, no offense, my good friend, I take that with a grain of salt. Like I'm not saying he's probably not going to be good to play the game, but I'm one of those people. I'll believe it when I see it. And that's just me, Mark. No offense. But Then flipping the coin to Kansas City, you have Jacksonville, when they played Jacksonville, and listen, Jacksonville in that game gave the Chiefs a run for their money. And I thought, and that was a really tight game. And then when you go to the AFC Championship game against Cincinnati, which, folks, I'm going to say it, we have a new Brady Manning type rivalry. We have Burrow Mahomes. And that game, when you saw Mahomes do make that run for the first down, that later the field goal, yeah, he has an ankle injury, but this shows he's really willing to put in the grit and really willing to put in the work. So I think what you guys have been saying, I think this is going to be Philly's first real test tonight. Thank you.
You really just went around in circles and I got completely lost.
Oh, I did.
So here's where I'm going to go, because we talked, Mark and I brought up parts of shoulder. If I'm KC, I'm going to dare him early to see how healthy he is. I'm going to load 8-9 up in the box and not let Philly run the football like they did against San Francisco and the Giants. And listen, this game is going to come down to which defensive line outplays the offensive line. These are the top two teams in the NFL in sacks. The Eagles led with 70, KC at 55. So whichever team's trenches play better could be the deciding point in this game.
I don't think "could" is the right word. No offense, Mike. I think it is the thing. The Philadelphia pass defense, played phenomenal throughout the year. The two games that they gave up the most yards to were the Dallas Cowboys and the passing game. That to me would be worrisome when you're going up against someone like Patrick Mahomes, who can throw for 300 yards with his other hand. So the Eagles defense, I don't think it's the defensive line that's going to be. I think it's the secondary that's really going to get tested more.
All right. So we'll get into predictions and things in a little bit, but I do want to talk on a specific point, and that's Andy Reid. Because Andy Reid, for 10, 11 years, was the face of the Philadelphia Eagles as their head coach, gets fired, goes to Kansas City, and he's built a monster there. 5 consecutive AFC championship games. And then, so Dan, when you look at Andy Reid, what do you think about?
I think greatness, toughness, and again, I think he has the ability, because I feel like the Chiefs have, it hasn't necessarily been a perfect season. It's been a pretty up and down season for them. They picked it up late for sure. So I feel like for Andy Reid, I think he keeps his team very poised, and you can expect him to coach the hell out of this game. I always expect a good game from Andy Reid in the big time setting, and the fact that he's been in this stage many times shows you that he truly belongs. And it's nothing for anyone to just blow off.
Mark, what does this do for Andy Reid's legacy? And does he have to win this game in your mind?
I mean, does he have to win it? No. I mean, he could lose it as easy as just going out there. His legacy has been sealed. I'm sorry. I mean, the top 2 active coaches, and in no particular order, Reid, Belichick. I mean, that's what it is right now. They're the top 2 active coaches. Andy Reid is a shoo-in for the Hall of Fame. He's taken two franchises from cornice to greatness. There is no doubt in my mind that his legacy is locked and sealed.
All right. Bill, very quickly on Andy Reid.
I'm going to say I don't think he really needs to win this game because coming to Kansas City, he has led the team to the playoffs 9 out of 10 times and to 3 Super Bowls in the last 4 years. And when he was in Philly, he only missed the playoffs 5 times in his 13 years there. So I think his legacy is sealed, and he is a straight-up Hall of Famer.
I think he's the first coach to ever host 3 consecutive conference title games with 2 different teams.
No, I don't think there's
that's
any
what I
coach that's done that. Yeah, no.
Yeah, because those Eagles teams in the early 2000s with Donovan McNabb, boy, they were something. You know, you were rocking a McNabb jersey there, Bill.
No, my father would disown me if I did.
I was selling his rookie cards.
And he was starring in Campbell's soup commercials.
Yeah. Him and Mama.
You know what? We got into the game a little bit. We'll do predictions in a few minutes, but commercials that we're looking forward to. Mark, I know you're looking forward to the Met commercial.
Oh, I am. I've seen the clip and I can't friggin' wait. And you want to know what makes it even better? I am sorry to my brothers in here. The Yankees wouldn't even pony up money to do a commercial. You want to know why? Because
Why?
it's no longer a Yankee town.
Debatable, but we're here to discuss the Super Bowl.
No,
I brought
Mets
up commercials.
commercial-
He's allowed to talk commercials.
sorry. The Mets commercial, yes, but from what I understand, the Doritos commercial is supposed to be very funny as well this year. So
Well,
those are the two I'm looking for.
Doritos always puts out a fantastic commercial. So you got to keep credit to them.
Anyone else? What commercials they look forward to?
I'm looking forward to Doritos as well. I kind of like to try to go in blind on these things so I can, be amazed.
I want a genuine reaction. I don't want to be spoiled.
Yeah.
Also, don't forget Gronk goes for the field goal during one of the commercial breaks.
The
I
kick
told
of
you.
destiny.
Oh, I hope he.
So I had to do the math on that. You actually had to place a bet, which is not that hard to do on FanDuel. It's not that expensive. The amount of people who entered, it comes out to like $1.25 a person. So it's basically a free $1 a bet if he hits it for everybody who's in.
What if he doesn't brings Adam Vinatieri in to make it?
Adam, there's just a name from the past.
I'm thinking of Patriot legend. So
He is. Best field goal kicker to ever play the game.
Dan, you got a commercial you're looking forward to?
No, because I think that part of the game, pretty much all the festivities, that part of it is, to me, I think it gets overhyped a little bit. So, no, but it would be nice to see another good commercial from Pepsi. They have, I don't know, they have. It would be nice. Obviously, Doritos, they're going to come out with something funny because they always do.
Oh, they're usually the best.
Anheuser-Busch always has the Clydesdales for something.
That's what also I'm hoping for as patriotic America. Those Clydesdales.
I'm hoping for the E-Trade, baby. I'm hoping for the E-Trade.
As long as
baby.
he's not
You're a great
breakdancing
teenager
this
right
time.
now,
no,
Mike.
No breakdancing, baby, though.
Usually, they have one of those like uplifting commercials.
Oh, I always
That like either a tearjerker or something that inspiring. Like that's another type of commercial that I kind of look forward to.
Pepsi, I think, could have a cool commercial.
You know what we need? Puppy Monkey Baby.
Puppy Monkey Baby.
No,
Oh, man.
we need to bring back Waza. I'm sorry.
Actually, you know what? The Dudley Boys did it, and that they're legends.
I'm sorry.
Or Dilly Dilly. Let's bring back Dilly Dilly.
Oh God, Patch and I know what went through with Terrence and me with
Oh.
Dilly Dilly at the stadium.
Yep.
Also, more Cocaine Bear trailers because that looks freaking epic. All right.
Funny enough
Oh,
that
he's
most
like-
people probably don't know that is based on a true story.
It is. It says in the trailer too.
Yeah.
Oh,
Now, one of these days, these 90s boy bands have got to like have some like sing off or dance off in one of these commercials.
Oh, that'd be hilarious.
I mean, look, I think the commercial that actually made me laugh the most over the last decade was Eli Manning and was it
Odell.
Odell Beckham Jr.?
It was Odell. The dirty.
With the dirty dancing scene. That was a very funny commercial. We need one like that, like Dan says, with NSYNC. Excuse me. First the Backstreet Boys.
Backstreet Boys.
You know, let's bring them back. Let's have them have a halftime show, just them. That would be interesting.
Just give the Backstreet Boys the halftime show.
You know. Speaking of which, first, anything else on the you guys have to say about commercials, or can I throw this out there?
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Since you brought up with halftime, Rihanna's doing halftime. I want to ask these fine gentlemen here, what would be your ideal halftime show? I'm going to start with Mike.
Okay.
Deal halftime show. All right, so I'm going to get off the Weird Al soapbox that I've had for a while, which, by the way, needs to be a thing.
Yes.
So I'm going to be very blunt and honest here. I hate today's music. I am an old school individual.
You're not that much older than us.
Yeah, you're only like a year older than me, Mike.
No, but when it comes to musical taste,
Mark's around the same age too. He's only like 10 years and stuff, right?
How old do you think I am?
Mark's got like 15 years on me.
I was about to say I'm 44, but buddy.
Mark's got 15 years on me. So
That's still fairly around the same age.
the ideal halftime show for me, I'm gonna go with a couple. I would love for Weird Al. I would love the Red Hot Chili Peppers to get their own halftime show with
Like
their
that.
catalog.
Just make sure the guitar is plugged in this time.
Yeah. Let's see. Off the cuff Matchbox 20, I think could put on a good show. But if I'm going my all-time favorite band, I'm going AC. Give me an AC/DC halftime show. That is what I want, Roger.
So, yeah, I could see that. I think that'd be a pretty good halftime show.
See, I'm kind of in the same boat with Mike. I'm not into a lot of today's music. There's plenty of songs that I enjoy, but over the times that I've watched Super Bowl halftimes, from everything from Michael Jackson to Snoop Dogg, last year, I actually really enjoyed last year's very much. So
Yes, last year's was really good.
I really enjoyed it. I want to see something along the same lines, but let's take it back a decade, maybe even 2 decades, and bring in the guys who turned rap into what it is. Everybody from Naughty by Nature to Wu-Tang, which we know would be a little bit rocky, but that's the type of show I want to see. I think that would get very good review.
Okay. Reg, what do you think?
We need to go punk.
Okay.
I'm talking Paramore. You can throw in a little.
Slipknot?
Okay.
Hmm.
Slipknot might get the people in trouble.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the NFL
If you went like
that.
if you went Corey Taylor, Softer Side, and Stone Sour, then there's a different conversation.
First mosh pit in NFL history.
So Paramore.
Yeah,
and-
no, like yeah, I'm thinking like Blink 182. I'm thinking Linkin Park, maybe.
Oh, I like that one.
all 90s, 2000s.
Now, of course, Linkin Park would suck because there's no Chester, unfortunately.
Well,
Rest in peace, Chester. We miss you.
But of course, they can probably figure out a way to do some computer generator, bring him up.
Now, that is an insult to Chester.
Is it an insult though? I mean, it's sort of honoring him.
I mean, look what Timberlake did for Prince. Probably the same thing
Yeah.
I mean, we got a Tupac hologram a couple years ago, I believe.
last year.
So
And I was so happy.
So I think that we need to go a little punk here. I
Okay.
think the 2000s, obviously, hip hop was huge, but we got enough of that stuff. We've had enough of it. Let's bring some punk. Let's represent the punk generation. I think that's a group of people that's very underrepresented in these Super Bowl halftime shows.
Very interesting.
Oh, hey, it's me. Hey, it's me. All right.
All right, Mr. President, do that.
Mhm.
All right. Gotta throw Green Day in there too.
Okay.
Oh,
You
duh.
can give Green Day their own halftime show. Everyone's been wanting it for a while. They wanted it for Super Bowl 50, I believe. You got to give it to Metallica at least once.
I killed for that.
Oh, that'd be a
You
great.
got to give Metallica a halftime show, and another band by itself you can give a halftime show is the Foo Fighters.
Yes,
See
100% agree.
Dude, I was actually thinking that as well.
Don't lie to us.
No, I really was. I swear.
You can get you. There's a few bands that alone by themselves. I get this generation is in the pop culture era, but sometimes you just have to throw us a curveball. You know what? No diss to Rihanna this year, but give it to one of the rock bands. The rock bands can show you that they can put on the performance of a lifetime in. Everyone has had mixed feelings the last 6 or 7 Super Bowl halftime shows, with probably the exception of last year, which was good. But they've been getting crapped on because it's like meh. Okay, Bruno Mars is I like Bruno Mars, but they've been just sticking it to all the rock bands and the punk bands. Like, come on, throw them the bone once in a while. Like, we got Super Bowl 60 in a couple of years. You know what? Say Super Bowl 60, it's Metallica. You give Metallica the halftime show for Super Bowl 60, I bet you'll have a lot of people tune in just to see that halftime show, just to see how they can pull off, since their songs are like 7-8 minutes long, it seems, for them to do a 15-minute concert and put in all their best.
Go from Enter Sandman to Whom the Bell Tolls.
To nothing.
Sad but true. Ooh.
Like me, if I was Metallica, I would kick off the halftime show with a part of one. That opening guitar riff, you start with that, and then you lead into other stuff.
You close out with Enter Sandman, probably.
Yeah.
And
And then Mario Rivera pops out of nowhere.
Ooh, that'd be so cool.
well, depending on where Super Bowl 60 is as well. So
We'll worry about
I'm
that.
not going to lie to you. I don't even know what number we're on Super Bowl wise.
57.
57.
Now, here's mine. Patch actually said my number one would be the Foo Fighters, and I think the opening would be Times Like These.
No, with the Super Bowl halftime show, you don't start with Times Like These. You start with All My Life.
Okay.
That opening guitar riff's a lot better, and then and then you can go into other stuff, because
But I think we can agree.
That's how
everyone.
that's how you get a concert started with the Foo Fighters, All My Life, to kick off the halftime show, because that opening guitar riff too is really good, and you got Dave Grohl will find a way to make a halftime show perfect.
Yeah. And my other two choices that we're going to be, and I'll go through. One is, and I heard his voice is kind of shot, but I think if his voice was good, he would put on a good one. Bon Jovi. I think he would put on a good halftime show.
Oh man, he should. If that new Buffalo Stadium ever gets a Super Bowl, Bon Jovi should do the Super Bowl in Buffalo.
Oh, because he was part of that group that wanted to relocate to Toronto.
Yeah.
And my other choice, and this is a little bit of an odd pick, the Killers.
The Killers is tough
Not the
because
worst.
it's not the worst. Like you could probably throw the Killers in, probably like if you did if they announced Paramore did the halftime show, you can throw them in with the Paramore, just like you do Paramore, Green Day, and the Killers. You can do a 3-parter right there, because the Killers, yes, they have some mainstream songs, but they don't have a mainstream of songs like Metallica, like the Foo Fighters, like Green Day. Like the Killers probably have 7 songs that everyone probably knows. And you can do Mr. Brightside at which would be phenomenal, I think, at a halftime show, but like you're not gonna throw like I need a more recent song. You're not gonna have them play like Caution from recent years or
The Man.
The Man. Yeah, you're not like it's no offense to the Killers, but like you got to throw the Killers can come in, they can do Mr. Brightside, they can do all these things that I've done, and they can do
When you were young.
When it's either that or you can do Somebody Told Me. They can do like a 3-part, little 5-minute set with the 3 songs and then be done with their set. Because, like I say, with the Killers, it's hard for them to. I'm not say hard for them to put on a show, but to give them 15 minutes to do a halftime show, it's going to be hard for them.
Yeah, but I remember one time, me and my friend were talking about this, Patch. What would you say if we had a guest artist like Muse throw in there?
Who the heck is Muse?
You know what? You give them a halftime show, you'll be amazed. If you're gonna go that route, I would say you gotta throw. Even though people probably don't like German hard rock music, you gotta throw Rammstein to a bone then.
Just
and,
don't know.
And it's just them singing Du Hast for 20 minutes. And it's just them saying Du Hast. That's it.
I'm not sure any of this is ever going to happen.
Yeah.
All right.
I just thought that'd be a fun question.
I would say if you were going to give a rock band like three rock bands, we'll go 3 rock bands, a halftime show. In the next few years, you throw Metallica a bone, you throw the Foo Fighters, and you throw Muse. Those would be the 3 rock bands I would throw a bone to for a halftime show. Because those are probably your 3 big bands going right now. The Metallica's and AC/DC too. You can't forget AC/DC. So 4.
All right. Last thing, and we'll wrap up. Prediction: who wins the Super Bowl? Who's Super Bowl MVP around the horn?
I'm going with Kansas City 27, Philly 24. I'm gonna say Travis Kelce MVP.
Kansas City 38, Philadelphia 28. MVP of the game, Patrick Mahomes.
Patch?
But down the middle, like I've been trying to think about this all week. The mind says, Chiefs are going to win this. The inner heart in me, I want the Eagles to win for a couple of my friends, and then just to see Philadelphia burn to the ground regardless. If I'm looking at a realistic picture, I just see the Chiefs edging out the Eagles 34-29 or 28.
And who's the MVP, Patch?
Patrick Mahomes.
I think the Eagles finally get their test and they pass the test. 30-27. I have the Eagles winning. I'll have Brown as my MVP.
Okay.
I'm going to go Chiefs 34-30. Chris Jones is your MVP.
Defensive. Interesting.
You know what? I thought Mahomes and Kelce would be the easy picks. And I think if Kansas City's going to win this game, they're going to have to make some plays on defense. Chris Jones played great against the Bengals. They need Chris Jones to be big tonight. But those are our picks. But we're going to close out with this, Mark. What is on your menu tonight?
So, for all of you who know the Old Ops guy cooks, and he loves to cook. We got the famous Old Ops guy sausage and peppers going down tonight. They will start getting into the pan in about an hour and a half to start to saute, get that garlic up. We got some nice chips. We got some nice dips. We got wings and everything. And mind you, I'm one person, so that's just for me. What about you guys? What are you guys doing?
I'm actually going to a Super Bowl party, but like I told you beforehand, my mom is making her famous chili, which is so good. And it's a little hot, but it's so good. And I was telling you guys earlier, the guy whose house we're going to, he says to my mom, I'm not letting you in unless you bring the chili, because it is the best chili ever. So, yeah, and see what else is going to be there. Probably like wings and all that fun stuff.
Patch?
Depending where I'm going or what I'm doing, it's gonna probably be some wings, maybe some loaded tater tots, maybe some shrimp. Gotta can't go wrong with some cocktail shrimp. So
Dan?
I'll be at a friend's house. He's gonna whip up something. I'm bringing chips and salsa.
There you go. If it's Moser's place, you could trash it.
No, Mosier's gonna be at work watching the Super Bowl.
Oh, and still crying about how it should have been the Bills.
Yeah, and him making excuses for why they
Yeah.
can't.
Oh, lame. All right. I got a roast in the oven.
Ooh.
I got some appetizers coming, so we gonna feast tonight.
Mike is making a roast.
Party at Mike's.
You ain't coming in. There's a password.
even if you bring the chili, even if you bring,
I'll
the
bring you
chili,
the
you're not
chili,
allowed.
Mike. Will you let me in if I bring the chili? It's
Under
good chili, I
consider-
promise.
Under consideration.
I'll bring a
But
bottle of Johnny Walker Blue. Is that enough?
Ooh.
listen, all you need is get me like a 6-pack of Heineken and we're good.
What if I bring you Stone Cold beer?
I would try it, to be honest with you. I've never had it, so but that'll do it for the SIN Super Bowl pregame show on the SIN YouTube page. Check out all the podcasts, Anchor, Google, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Check out the website, www.thesportsinsanitynetwork.com for great blogs, vlogs, planes, trains, and automobiles. Follow us on social media at SInsaneReel on Twitter. We are also on Facebook. I think that's it, Patch, right? You disavowed the Instagram? All right.
Instagram's deactivated right now.
The
That's
Instagram
still a work
is
in progress.
deactivated. That's because Bill's face had broke it.
Yup.
It's at S Insanity.
S Insanity Real. I apologize for making an error. But for Bill Murphy, Mark Oldup, Sky Halpern, Lawrence Patch Meneling, Dan Ryan, I am Mike Griffin. Thank you for listening to the SIN Super Bowl pregame show on the SIN YouTube page. Have a good one. Enjoy the game and namaste.
JETS, Jets.
Guys
Yeah.
didn't catch it.
Jets.